My mother's family sold our home and cut us off, but they had no idea the poor girl they mocked would one day buy it back. When they threw us out, I was just 16, standing barefoot on the cold porch, watching my uncle slam the door of the only place I'd ever called home. My mom cried for nights, and I promised her one thing. I'd bring that house back to her name. If you've ever been underestimated or betrayed by your own family, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this story, because this one hits deep. I still remember Aunt Patricia's voice echoing in my head that night. Kylie, your mom ruined everything. You two will never own a home again. Her words burned into me like fire. We moved into a tiny apartment above a mechanic's shop, where every night I listened to engines roar while Mom silently stitched clothes just to afford rent. For years, I worked every odd job I could find: waitress, cashier, delivery girl. My cousins posted their lavish parties on social media, laughing in our old living room, while I served strangers just to pay bills. But deep down, I wasn't angry. I was learning. One day at the diner, I overheard two businessmen talking about real estate investments and flipping foreclosed properties. Something in me clicked. That night, instead of sleeping, I started watching free online tutorials, studying real estate laws, and calculating property values. I kept it all hidden. Even from Mom, everyone thought I was just a tired waitress with no future, but behind that uniform, I was building something, piece by piece. 5 years later, when my first property deal finally went through, I cried in the empty house I'd bought. Not because I was rich, but because for the first time I was in control. Then one day, I saw it, a for sale sign standing in front of our old home. The same home they'd sold to throw us away. I froze on the sidewalk, staring at the place where everything had started. My heart pounded, and my hands shook. I walked closer, whispering to myself, "It's time." And that's when I saw Aunt Patricia walk out the front door, holding the sale documents. My chest tightened as Aunt Patricia's eyes met mine. For a second, she didn't recognize me. Maybe because the girl standing there wasn't the same broke niece they'd once mocked. I wore a sharp black coat, heels clicking against the driveway where I used to play barefoot. Her fake smile froze. "Kylie, is that you?" she asked, scanning me from head to toe like she couldn't believe I belonged there. "Yeah," I said calmly. "Heard the house was up for sale." She laughed nervously. "Oh, sweetie, this is way out of your range. We're talking big money here." I wanted to laugh right back, but I bit my tongue. Let her talk. Let her think I was still small. Just then, a man in a suit walked up, the realtor. "You must be Ms. Rivera," he said, shaking my hand. Aunt Patricia's eyes widened. "Wait, you're the buyer?" she asked, her voice trembling. I gave a slow smile. "Full payment, all cash," I said. Her jaw dropped. "How is that possible? You were working at a diner." "Yeah," I replied softly. "And while you were busy laughing at me from this porch, I was buying every house your friends couldn't afford." The realtor interrupted, asking for signatures. Aunt Patricia's hands shook as she tried to process what was happening. I could almost feel her pride cracking. Behind her, the same cousins who once mocked me peeked through the window, their expressions twisting with disbelief. They looked exactly how I dreamed they would, speechless. Mom pulled up just then, stepping out of her old car, completely unaware of what was happening. When she saw me holding the keys, confusion filled her eyes. "Mom," I said, voice trembling. "Remember when I promised I'd bring us home?" Her lips quivered. "Kylie, what did you do?" I placed the keys in her hand. "We own it again, Mom. It's ours." For a moment, the world went quiet, until Aunt Patricia suddenly snapped. "This isn't fair. You tricked us." I turned to her slowly, my voice steady but cold. "No, Aunt Patricia. You sold your heart for money. I just bought it back with pride." But I wasn't done yet. I had one more surprise. One that would make her realize this wasn't just about the house. It was about everything she took from us. Aunt Patricia's face went pale. "What do you mean, everything you took from us?" she stammered. I stepped closer, my heels echoing on the marble porch. the same one she once said I'd never walk on again. "Do you really think I spent all these years just to buy back this house?" I said softly. "No, Aunt Patricia. I bought half the neighborhood." Her mouth fell open. "You're lying." "Check the deed records," I replied, pulling out a folder from my bag. "Rivera Holdings, LLC, that's me." She snatched the papers from my hand, flipping through them with shaking fingers. Her eyes darted across the documents. Her expression shifted from denial to horror. You own the plaza? The rental homes? Even the grocery?" "Every single one," I said calmly. "The same businesses that used to ignore Mom's job applications. Funny how tables turn." Mom stood there speechless, her hands trembling around the house keys. "Kylie, you did all this alone?" I smiled through the lump in my throat. "I did it for you, Mom, so you'd never cry over rent again." Just then, my cousin Jenna stormed out, her designer shoes sinking into the muddy lawn. "You think money makes you better than us?" she snapped. I turned to her. "No, Jenna, but integrity does. Something your family sold the day they betrayed their own blood." Her face reddened, but before she could respond, a black car pulled up. Out stepped Mr. Dalton, one of the city's biggest investors, and he walked straight toward me. "Ms. Rivera," he greeted with a firm handshake, ignoring the stunned family. "I got your message. We're ready to finalize the community center deal. The mayor's office already approved the permits." Aunt Patricia's jaw dropped. "Community center? What are you talking about?" I looked around the yard, the same place I once stood crying as a child, and smiled. "This house won't just be ours, Aunt Patricia. It'll be a shelter for families like ours, the ones you look down on." For the first time, she had no words, just a hollow silence that said everything. But as she glared at me, I noticed something. A smirk she tried to hide. Something wasn't right. She whispered under her breath. "You may have bought the house, Kylie, but you don't know what's buried inside it." My heart skipped a beat. "What did you say?" Aunt Patricia's smile widened. "You think you know everything, but this house still holds one secret your mother never told you." My pulse thumped in my ears as Aunt Patricia's words echoed. "One secret your mother never told you." I turned to Mom. Her face went white. "Mom, what is she talking about?" She shook her head quickly. "Kylie, don't listen to her. She's just trying to ruin this moment." But her trembling voice gave her away. Aunt Patricia chuckled darkly. "Oh, she knows exactly what I mean. Go on, Linda. Tell her who really owned this house before your father signed those papers." "Stop it, Patricia," Mom snapped, her voice cracking. "This isn't your business anymore." I took a step closer. "Mom," I whispered, "you promised me we'd always be honest with each other. Please, tell me." Tears filled her eyes. "Your grandfather didn't buy this house, Kylie. He stole it." "What?" My stomach dropped. Mom looked down. "It originally belonged to Patricia's side of the family. When your grandfather passed, he left fake documents that cut them out completely. They never forgave me for being his daughter. That's why they took revenge on us." I stared at Aunt Patricia in disbelief. "So you sold the house because you thought it was rightfully yours?" She smirked. "Exactly. We just took back what was stolen. For a second I didn't know what to feel. Betrayal, anger, or shame. All these years I thought we were the victims. But maybe this family war had more blood on both sides than I ever realized." Mr. Dalton, still standing there awkwardly, cleared his throat. "Ms. Rivera, if this house has legal complications, we might need to—" I cut him off. "No, nothing changes." I turned to my mother and aunt. "You both fought over this place for decades. But I'm ending it tonight." Mom's eyes widened. "Kylie, what are you doing?" I took a deep breath. "I bought this house not to own it, but to fix what both of you broke." Then I looked at Aunt Patricia and said firmly, "If this house was yours once, you'll still be part of what I'm building here. The community center will bear both family names, Rivera Moore Foundation." For the first time, her arrogance faltered. "Why would you do that after everything I did to you?" "Because revenge built me," I said quietly. "But forgiveness will free me." Mom started crying softly, hugging me as the family stared in silence. But just when I thought peace had finally settled, Aunt Patricia whispered, "You still don't understand, Kylie. That secret wasn't the only one buried here," I frowned. What do you mean? She looked toward the basement door, the one that had always been locked since my childhood, and said, Ask your mother who lived down there before you were born. The air in that house suddenly felt heavier, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I turned toward the basement door, chipped paint, rusted handle, sealed with years of dust. My hands trembled as I reached for the key Mom had always kept on her necklace. Mom, I said quietly. Who lived down there? Her eyes filled with tears. Kylie, please don't, but I'd already unlocked it. The hinges creaked open, and a wave of cold, musty air hit me. I flicked the light switch. The bulb flickered weakly, revealing old furniture covered in sheets and photos pinned to the wall. If you've ever discovered a truth that shattered everything you believed, stay with me. This ending, you won't forget. I stepped down, heart pounding. The photos were yellowed with time, pictures of my mom as a teenager holding a baby. But the handwriting on the back stopped me cold. For my daughter, Patricia. From your father. My breath caught. Mom, this isn't you in these photos. This is Aunt Patricia. Mom froze on the stairs. Kylie, please. I can explain. Aunt Patricia's voice echoed from behind her. Go ahead, Linda. Tell her who she really is. I turned, feeling the ground slip beneath me. What is she talking about? Mom broke down. You weren't supposed to find out like this. Kylie, you're not my biological daughter. You're Patricia's. The world spun. What? She cried harder. Your grandfather gave you to me when Patricia was just 16. He wanted to protect the family name, so he faked the records and raised you as mine. I loved you like my own, Kylie. Every moment, every sacrifice. Aunt Patricia's eyes glistened. He took my child from me. That's why I hated her. Not because she was poor, but because every time I saw her, I saw you. Silence filled the room. For years, I'd built my life around revenge, around reclaiming a home that was stolen from us. But now I realized I was part of both sides. The feud, the bitterness, the pain, all tied to me. I looked between them, tears blurring my vision. All this fighting, all this pain, it was over me? Mom nodded. You were the bridge that broke us. For a long time, none of us spoke. The air was thick with things that could never be undone. But then, for the first time, Aunt Patricia stepped forward, slowly, hesitantly, and placed her trembling hand on mine. Maybe it's time, she said softly, that we stop destroying what he left behind. I nodded through tears. No more secrets. No more hate. When we walked back upstairs, the morning light poured through the windows, painting the walls gold. It didn't feel like the house that broke us anymore. It felt like a beginning. I looked at both women and said, This house once tore us apart. But from now on, it'll stand for unity, for everything we lost and finally found. And with that, I placed both their hands together, feeling a strange, peaceful warmth in my chest. The same home that started our pain had finally healed it, because sometimes buying back your past isn't about owning it, it's about forgiving it. Story ends. Emotional resolution and poetic closure for Kylie's journey from betrayal to redemption.